And on today's show, how leveraging assets can make your money work harder. Part 5 of this week's series on self-funding index universal life for income with premium funding strategist and attorney, Robert Strauss. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to InsMark, LifeSpecs, and Backroom Technician. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 5, Robert.
Thank you, Steve.
Man, this has been eye-opening. I mean, everybody that's out there selling life insurance for income and indexed universal life for income, I think they're going to appreciate everything we're talking about. Where I'm looking at these three things that we've talked about all this week. We've looked at 3 different ways to fund. We have corporate, we have intrafamily, and then we have, well, for lack of a better way, poor performing assets that are low yielding, but yet liquid. Okay, now let's make sure, if you missed our show, the reason we're doing a redux is because we really want you to understand there are 3 target markets to this. To me, this is a huge issue because in my mind, I partition it now by sales, by marketing, by demographics. And if you're out on LinkedIn doing B2C business, this is how you want to split this up. So if you say, Steve, I'm all over that, I am doing B2C LinkedIn business, then you need to target corporate, intra-family, and low-yielding asset-based. Those 3 ideas are separate. Even though the bottom line, they're the similar, those are the 3 different marketing. Because everybody's always asking me, Steve, what's the marketing play here? So let's go through it again. Corporate dollars. I'm thinking headhunters are all over LinkedIn right now, and they're looking for key people. So this could be, from a corporate point of view, this could be a recruiting tool. This could be a retention tool. So I go to my employer, if I'm hearing you correctly, and this doesn't matter if it's key man. It doesn't matter if we're doing buy, sell, cross purchase, stock redemption, wait and see trust. All this is doable with this now.
Absolutely.
Now, okay, so corporate, in your mindset, when you go to a corporation to pay for a key exec or somebody they're trying to keep from being stolen by a headhunter, what's the big play to them? They're usually saying, the premium's too much. What's your counter to that?
Well, my counter to that is that first of all, it's a temporary outlay of money. I mean, they're going to be reimbursed that whatever it is that they spend on this program. They're going to be reimbursed. They're going to be reimbursed what they spend, and they're going to be paid interest as they go. And it's much more expensive to lose a key employee.
You know, when you just said that, I'm thinking we just erased split dollar on any level.
That's a good point.
Think about that. You just erased split dollar. The hassles of that and the PS58 cost, or whatever it is now, we've really erased that. There's no reason to use this any longer. And in a low interest rate environment, we're always complaining about it, but maybe today we shouldn't. Because we're looking at LIBOR plus or whatever the corporation's going to look at, the AFR rate. Those are both very low. And to use that for corporate. So I have multiple uses, funding an executive bonus plan, taking care of my succession planning in that as well, and retaining key rainmakers in my business. That's a huge issue. I love this intra-family because we didn't really get into it all this week, but we should do a whole entire workshop on multi-generational 2, maybe 3 generations where we're funding everybody's retirement, everybody's college education, all the way down maybe 3 generations.
Absolutely.
I mean, second to die, think about this, our second to die, some of these contracts are going out to 130 years that you can see on the proposal. So when we're talking about intra-family, there's people that are going to have money in our family. And this is a great way. And I loved your segment because most corporates go, well, I just shelled out this money. I hope to get it back through a split dollar arrangement. I don't have to worry about that. So I'm getting it back. And now I'm doing a family, intra-family play. How many of these have you done? And when you introduce this to a patriarch or a matriarch of a family who actually is the steering financial person involved in that, how big is this play when they see this?
It's very exciting to, the head of the family, and often what they end up doing is doing multiple policies, doing these on the younger, people in their 20s and 30s. It's
COIs are so cheap.
Inexpensive. It's so inexpensive to set up your children, your grandchildren, and take care of their retirement needs so that they never have to worry about any of that. And people are struggling today in business, and for them not to have that worry and not to have to rely on employer retirement plans and the government and all of that, and to be able to take care of it in just 10 years with such a low expense, it's such a great feeling for these parents and grandparents.
I think honestly, Robert, this could be huge for agents and registered reps and RIAs, because this is a great way to really leave a huge legacy for your family, for your charity, to fund children education. This is a huge, huge play to play. This last one, I love the idea, because we're trying to identify low-yielding assets that aren't doing anything.
Sure.
They're in our portfolio, and they're liquid. This is a huge leverage play, but this is where you live. You've seen a lot of this, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's probably the most popular play of all. But people are always surprised to see, their money working, the difference that it makes when they introduce leverage to the transaction.
I like the leverage of it, and I like the mechanics of how this displays on your ledger. When we come back from the break, we're going to show you how to contact Robert and his team. This is a team approach. It's unbelievable, really, when you think about it. All the ledger material, all of this is patent pending, copywritten. This is huge methodology, a great approach for your practice to intertwine and try to really pull your practice into this. If you're selling life insurance for income, this is a major play. We'll be right back after the break and tell you how to interface with his team. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance, designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. Of course, I'm with funding strategist and attorney Robert Strauss. Robert, people are going to want to know, I want to see what this looks like. And I think this is great. Let's say I'm looking at one of the four. I could be, and remember, we did a series ago on premium financing. That is with a bank. The three ideas we're showing here have nothing to do with a bank. This is all corporate. This is all interfamily. This is all our own asset play. But when we're walking through this for the first time, what do we do to really engage you? Because we're going to need the ledger. You can't do this without your methodology. You can't.
Well, give us a call. I think we should probably go through at least a webinar, which is kind of a step 2 right here. Let's do a deeper dive into this. And let's make sure that we're all on the same page. We all understand exactly the best way to represent this. And then you can always submit a proposal request, which is step 3 right here. There's a link to a form. Once we receive the facts, we'll start working with you, and we'll run the spreadsheets depending.
Now, it's critical, if I understood you correctly, carrier benevolency and underwriting is going to be an issue. They can't just pick their own IUL here.
No.
And the other part is the Index Universal Life has to have not only a fixed rate guaranteed in the contract, but it has to have a decent rate. I mean, it can't just be 7. It's got to be down a little bit. And we're using right now one that uses a nickel, 5%. Right. So there's something, you may have to give up your favorite team here to play, because there's very few carriers,
correct,
if I'm understanding you right, in the inventory of IUL that are giving fixed rate, contraction guaranteed, 5 or under.
Yeah, we'll definitely provide some guidance there. We'll want to know, first of all, who you're writing your business with and what carriers you're contracted with and appointed with before we really proceed with any of this. But there really are only a few products that actually work with the program, so it doesn't really make sense to proceed if you're not contracted with those carriers. So, but that's kind of some of the back office stuff that we'll take care of right away. Okay, so let's say I send in my information. I tell you which I choose the category: corporate, intrafamily, or asset base. I make that big macro decision. Correct.
Then I say, okay, I give you the specs. I have a male 45, non-smoker preferred, super preferred, hopefully. And I'm willing to put in this amount of money, and then you reimburse it. So if it's $10,000 for 10 years or $20,000 for 20 years, there's no real net worth on these 3 products. It's just your ability to actually pay for the interest rate. Isn't that correct? Bottom line?
There's 2 things that the client has to qualify for. Number 1, he's got to qualify for the insurance itself. So usually carriers have a multiple of income requirement or a net worth requirement, one or the other. So he still has to qualify for the insurance itself, number 1. So for example, in that example with the person making $150,000, let's say the multiplier is 25 times 150,000. He'd be able to qualify for whatever that is, $3 million or $4 million. Then the other is suitability. So obviously it still has to be suitable for the person. So those are the two issues that that will always prevail.
Let's say we clear those two hurdles for a moment. I submit the information, you've collected it, it's all there.
Yep.
From the time that I submit it, what's my turnaround time? Because this is a very sophisticated strategy and scenarios that you've built here.
Correct.
But it is also animated. We got computer automation here. So how long does it take from the day I submit it, the time I submit it? How many business days out am I going to get that back?
We say 24 to 48 hours, but
Wow.
we usually do, and I don't want to pressure my staff at all, but we usually do same-day turnaround.
Okay, so there's the illustration. And of course, we keep telling our advisors, try to have a pretty good handle on the client's health. I don't want to play preferred non-smoker, and we find out the person's actually table 2, and we're going to have to redo the policies, and it may not work.
Correct.
So we really need to do a little bit of pre-qualification on the front end from a medical point of view. And of course, I always recommend, even if you haven't even got that far yet, try to see if you can get a Part 2 medical, so you can kind of see where it's going to play. Because remember, there's only so many carriers in this field with the fixed interest rate guaranteed in the contract, and that is a must in your scenario.
Absolutely.
So that's a big issue. Now, what about when you're looking, you're coming into the register online? You have school for this.
Yeah, so I think it's, again, this is a learning experience, and it's always good to take a deeper look at this. So after you've gone through the 1-hour webinar, maybe you've looked at a proposal or two, it's good to go through our online school, which is 3 hours of really kind of intensive training. Or alternatively, you can come into our office, and we have an all-day university.
Which is based at?
Which is based in New Canaan, Connecticut.
And would you ever do one anyplace else if you had enough participants?
Yeah, as long as we have, as long as we have about 20 people in a room.
Or more.
It's
doable.
Yeah, it's possible.
So you have a 3-hour web-based. You have a full day. Wow, I'd love to see that.
SFI University.
SFI University in Connecticut.
SFI University in Connecticut, or occasionally on the road.
Outside if we have enough people. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So when you go through it, a web, what am I getting beyond what we're showing in the show then, from the web point of view?
Well, a few things. Number one, more applications and more case studies, and also just a deeper dive into stressing out the model. What happens at different crediting rates? What happens if the crediting rates are in different orders, different sequences of returns, and just different questions that we typically get, frequently asked questions, and how to answer those questions. So you'll be more prepared when you're out there in the field.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Just go out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant, and we'll see you next week.